You're listening to the Homeownership podcast by Momentum Realty, real estate talk for buying, selling, and owning property.
Hey guys, Sean Patrick Maloney here, broker owner of Momentum Realty, located in Hanover, Massachusetts. Welcome to episode 40, Selling a House in the Winter. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me this week. I want to talk to you about selling your house in the winter time. Often people avoid selling their houses in the winter and they try to sell them all in the spring, or they try to sell them in the summertime. It's a great time to sell a house in the winter because of a lot of different factors, but let's talk about each and every one and find out if selling the house in the winter is the best time for you. First off, it's a great time because of the limited competition. As I mentioned on the way into the podcast here, everybody thinks to sell their home in the springtime. One of the things that we learn early in school, when we're learning economics, when we're learning about how markets work, we learn supply and demand, which supply and demand rule says as supply goes up, demand usually diminishes because the users are able to find what they're looking for, and as demand goes up, supply goes down, and vice versa, so does in prices. So as demand goes up, so does in prices, and as supply goes up, prices go down. So what this means is as you get into the spring marketplace, you're first on, you probably get a great price for your home. But if you come on with a big grouping of homes, you usually have to price your house a little more competitively because of the fact that people have the choice of your home or many other homes. So during the wintertime, when less people are actually going on the market, you have a limited competition, which actually can mean you sell for a better price than you would have during the springtime. I know this is contradictory to what a lot of people think, but the truth and the evidence is there that people who sell their homes in off periods of time when they have less competition tend to have the attention of buyers. In the modern day world, we have people moving for jobs, we have people moving across country, and then we also have people looking for, quote, a bargain or looking to move during the off season. This means that you have all the eyes on you, which is great for the overall presentation of your home. Another great part about selling in the winter is we tend to decorate our houses in the wintertime a little more inside. We tend to have things for different holidays set up. We tend to pay a little more attention to what's going on inside our home because of the fact that we're all cooped up. We're not going out to the beach every day. We're not doing the things that we do in the summertime. So a lot of people keep their houses cleaner and they do a lot more decorating of the actual home, which is a nice time to show it. Remember, during this time period, you do have more time in. You have less time where you have to focus on going out to the beach and stuff. So it can actually give you the ability to get your home more ready for buyers to actually come in and take a look at it. Remember though, during the wintertime, it's really important that you pay attention to the clutter because they're going to be spending more time focusing on the inside of the house than the exterior of the home. It's really important to make sure that that clutter is not there. Next, let's talk about getting ready for visitors. So we talked a little bit about cleaning it up. Another thing you want to do is when you actually have an open house or you have people coming to the house, turn the heat up a couple of degrees. During the winter time, it's cold out there, and if you immediately show that it's warm in your house, it's a very comforting feel. It's a homey feel. We all love it. We all love to curl up on the couch next to a hot stove and sit there, watch TV, and chill out. Same thing when a visitor comes to the house. They like to know that the heat works. During the summertime, I always tell people to turn down the AC to bone chilling so that when someone walks in the door, they go, oh, it has central air conditioner. We want to do the exact opposite during the winter. We want to warm it up so people feel like, wow, this is a warm house. The idea of keeping a warm house actually in their mind says that it's well insulated. Even though they have nothing to do with each other and there's no truth to that matter, feeling the house warm makes them feel like it must be well insulated, which is also another selling point. A lot of people like that. It's also a great time if you have a fireplace, a wood stove, a pellet stove, or any of them, to have that firing off. There's nothing more comforting and soothing than to see a nice fire going or the feeling of standing near a wood stove after coming out of a cold, miserable day. It really can sell a place. There's a lot of people out there that still love fireplaces, wood stoves, and pellet stoves, as well as gas inserts as well. They're all very nice. They're all very soothing, and a lot of houses aren't coming with them anymore. A lot of places, they stop putting in chimneys, so showing off that feature, saying that you have a wood stove in your description as well as having it running when people come, can really give that person a feeling of the country feel, the feeling of home and warm, and I can dry my gloves here. So that's a really important thing to think about. Another thing we want to make sure is that we're always shoveling and de-icing. So a lot of times during the winter time, we have driveway spaces that we might not clear. We have walkways we might not clear. We have all different things like that. I'm going to tell you, while you're for sale, you're going to do extra work. You're going to shovel them all, clear them all, snow blow them all, whatever it be. Make sure you clear all those different spaces off because you want to show that you have all those walkways, pathways. You want to show that the driveway's big. A lot of times it's easy to just clean off enough for the cars and leave those vacant spaces full of snow. Well, it doesn't show off the full size of your driveway. And buyers tend to not have the best imaginations. So clearing it all off will show that the driveway is a lot larger and that when it snows, they're not worried about, geez, I don't really have many places to put snow. Where would I go because I have barely any space? So driving over the snow, creating ice, things like that are really, really not that comforting. Another thing is if you don't de-ice your walkways and things, I've actually seen it before myself where we go to a house and because of the physical condition of the party looking at the house, they didn't want to get out because it was too icy and they actually skipped the showing. So remember as a seller, it's your responsibility to clean up the property. It's very unfair to bring it to the real estate agent when they're showing up, getting ready to show a home and they're actually having to de-ice or everybody's got to get their shoes wet walking through snow. It's just not a very pleasant experience. So make sure whether it be that you hire a contractor or whoever, that you de-ice in the place, that you're using some salts or magnesium or whatever to melt out the walkways. Make sure that it's very easy for people to get around. And also, last but not least on this section, I want to remind you, when you sign a listing agreement with an agent, you take on all liability of invited guests to your property. So if you're not clearing the ice on your own property and somebody slips and falls, then you can end up having an issue because of the fact that they end up suing you. And this is a reality. And I'd say just cleaning up that ice and making sure it's all out of there, it's a lot better when you're inviting people onto your property. Another few things that you can do during the wintertime to really get ready for a showing is just to make sure that you have all the windows closed, you have the storms in, you have everything all buttoned up. That way there's no feeling of drafts throughout the house. Another cool thing we can do during the wintertime that can help sell a house is themed open houses such as like a hot cocoa bar. We can do little themey type things like that help the people feel like it's a cool place, it's really warm. I like the idea when we introduce the idea of eating and drinking food and we bring that into the household. A lot of times through the psychology of people, it actually makes them feel a lot more at home. It also helps them stay a lot longer. So by having a themed open house like this, we can get people to stay for a half hour, an hour, which overall, the longer they stay, the more they understand and get the feeling of the house versus just walking through. And that's when a house becomes a home because it goes from just being a building with walls and windows to being a place where they socialized with people, they had food. It was a very enjoyable environment. They liked the flow of the home. They end up staying. So those are some things that we can think about. When you are having open houses and you are having visitors, another thing you want to think about is using the daylight. We have limited daylight during the wintertime, but the best time to see a home is during the daylight. If people are going to look at the outside and they're going to get a good understanding of the actual property, you want to have them there during the daytime. Unfortunately, sometimes what can happen if we don't do this is people will look at the property the one time at night and then they'll want to come back before they make an offer. They haven't quite fully seen the property. So getting people to fully see the property is going to help you ultimately with getting people to make offers. When people feel like there's still some unseens, unknowns, they tend not to make offers versus when they feel like they know the whole property. So using that daylight time can save you a lot of effort. We can use different things like during the weekends, having open houses during the middle of the day, as well as we can do open houses at obscure times. I know a lot of people look on the internet now and they say, well, who has an open house on Tuesdays at 11 to 1 or whatever? You got to realize the reality of the world is there's no such thing as Monday through Friday anymore. Monday through Friday is something I grew up with blue laws and no ability to buy alcohol on Sundays and all these different things. Everybody used to follow that. Now people work Monday through Sunday from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m., day in, day out. And everybody has a different schedule. So making sure your house is open at different times for different people with different schedules is going to allow you to see the maximum amount of buyers, which as we know, anytime we're selling a property, max buyers leads to max value. And that's what we're really looking to ultimately establish. Another important key factor to remember during the winter time is if you're selling your house during the winter, you want to update the photos based on the actual weather. So some people have snow photos and they don't end up selling because they have it on the winter and they overprice it and they don't get it sold in time and they never change the snow photos over. And the same but opposite, they were for sale during the summer and they use those summer photos during the winter. I'm here to tell you today, you want to use current photos because one of the things it can do is it can show a tired listing. If the people see summer photos on your winter listing, they don't just think, okay, these people were smart and they wanted to use some cool summer photos, so they loaded those up. They think, geez, these people have been for sale since summertime and they're still struggling to sell the property, so I'm going to offer them less. And I know a lot of people, when we meet with them, they want to give me these pretty photos of what their gardens look like and everything. That's fine. I love those. We can add those to the folder within the house. When people are there, I can show them this is what the house looks like during the summertime. This is what it looks like during the springtime. But when it comes to internet viewers, the internet viewers are very judgmental. They're judging whether they should show up or not. They're judging whether they should make offers or not. We want to show them an accurate depiction of where the house is at today and not where it was in the past, not where it could be in the future, but the exact location and time and date and weather that we currently are having. That's going to give you the best reflection. So keep that in mind, especially when working with an agent, when you're going to try to give them the photos. Understand that it's not that they don't like the photos of your house when it looks pretty. It's just that they really want photos that depict what's actually accurately there. And on that level, make sure that whoever you're using, or if you're working with Momentum Realty, you always get it, but make sure whoever you're using is using professional photography. The difference between professional photography and amateur photography is astounding. If you look on the internet and look through our past blogs on movementumrealty.com, you'll run into a blog written about using professional photography versus not. Look at the photos and look at the difference. We did it on one of our own properties of just taking some photos as the photographer did it, and we put them right next to each other, and you just see them and you're like, wow, that's not even the same place. But next, let's talk about some of the great reasons to sell a home during the winter as far as features to get your home sold, things that buyers are looking for that sell houses more in the wintertime. First would be garages. Garages are great during the wintertime. They're easy to showcase. It's easy to say, guess what? You can get right out of your car in this nice warm environment, walk right into the house in this attached garage. You can say, don't even clean your car off in the morning. You can just roll right out because you got a plow guy outside the garage and you got your car in the garage. There's no need to clean up. So garages are a great feature as far as an upsell that upsells itself a little better during the wintertime than it does during the summer. Not that garages aren't nice year round, but ultimately their features are most noticeable during the wintertime. So if you have a property that has a really nice garage, a winter sale may be a great idea for you. Generators. Generators are another thing that are more important during the winter. Around here in New England, we get the nor'easters, and we lose power quite often for long periods of time. Having a whole house generator or having a generator switch can be a huge upsell during that wintertime marketplace. Letting people know. So making sure that in your description on your actual MLS as well as your Zillow and all the rest of the places you post it, you want to make sure that the word generator are used. Whole house generator is such a big positive. There are a lot of different types of people that have whole house generators, everything from just wanting one for the safety of things to absolutely needing one because of medical conditions. But the reality is you open yourself up to a massive marketplace by using the words whole house generator, and you really separate yourself from the competition. Even though a whole house generator only costs somewhere in the realm of $5,000 to $20,000, people tend to not want to put them in. They tend to want to buy houses that already have them. So that's something that can be really big. I mentioned it before, but I'm going to mention it again. Wood and pellet stoves, those are the great features because one thing is, if you don't have a whole house generator, but you have a wood stove or you have a pellet stove, some pellet stove I should say, because some of them actually need electricity to run. But if you have a wood stove or a coal stove or a few of the others, you actually have a heating source even if the power goes out, which is a huge deal. It's a big important thing, especially if you have forced hot water heating. If you have forced hot water heating, the biggest scare is to lose power because you have the ability to burst pipes in the walls, which can cause a whole catastrophe. So either having a whole house generator or having a wood stove with those is a great way to tell people, yes, we do have forced hot water, but at the same time we have backup systems. We're ready in case the weather puts us out, and you are going to have the ability to continue running. Last but not least of these big features, which of course is a million more, but street gas is a huge one. Street gas, meaning natural gas, is a really big thing because if you have a whole house generator and you have street gas, you chances are will not ever have to worry about it because it'll continue to feed you and the generator will keep going. If you have to go buy gasoline, you're at the mercy of what the weather and whether or not the roads are able to be accessed, and if the supply sticks around and it doesn't sell out because so many people are looking for it. If you're on propane, you have whatever size propane tank you have, and the hard part of it is a lot of times it's very difficult to get delivery, whereas street gas gives you the ability to just have an unlimited supply and to continue piping it in. You also have your hot water heater. The hot water heater works with street gas when you have the electricity out, where a lot of the other systems like electric or oil, they actually need pumps and things that have a limiting factor on them that they actually need electricity to run. On street gas, the last but not least that you get going on would be you can actually light your burners and cook on it on your stove. You actually have to hand light your burners. Don't use a lighter, use a match. You can actually pop lighters by lighting street gas with the lighter, so just be really careful there. But you can use a lighter to light a piece of paper to light the stove and put it out in the sink. Just be careful doing that as well. But the reality is street gas keeps you going when everything else is stopped electricity-wise. Timing is a big thing in real estate always, but one of the things about selling a house in the winter is if you go between September and, say, early November and you hit the market then, you can always advertise you'd be in by the holidays. So that's a big, huge one for people. Not that you have to get in by the holidays, but if you're going to market it, that's always a sales pitch. The other one is you can go right after the holidays and you can beat everybody onto the market by coming on somewhere in mid-January to early February, and that's when you're going to find yourself the most alone on the market. And again, we talked earlier about supply and demand, so being the most alone in the market sometimes can really help out, especially if you have something that's a run-of-the-mill home that may not stand out when there's a lot of other houses on the market. Being out there by yourself can really help. So either going with the in by the holidays or going with the after the holidays. I hate to say it because my business survives off of actually people selling and buying homes, but the reality is you really don't want to put your house on the market December 10th through about January 2nd. And the reason being it's just really, really hard logistically to make most things happen. You call inspectors, they're busy. You call attorneys, they're on vacation. You call the mortgage broker and they'll get back to you. And a lot of times you can think you have something good going only to find delay after delay. Not that it can't be done and not that it isn't done. And I wouldn't suggest ever taking your house off for a certain period of time because I think that actually leads to weakness in the mind. People think that there's an issue with the house when you take it on and off. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. But coming on the market, you do want to come on the market with some firepower. The first few weeks on the market are the strongest marketing that you're going to have selling your home. And if it's priced correctly, it's going to sell during that time. So just think about it when it comes down to timelines. Just like I said, just that mid-December to the very early part of January, you just want to be careful about it. Some pros to moving during the winter time would be that you have a bit cooler weather, so the moving's a little bit easier. You don't have to actually deal with yard maintenance during that time of the year. You actually can focus on what you're doing there. And a lot of times the moving companies are more available. And when moving companies are more available, we're back to that supply and demand, they're going to give you a better price. They're also going to have better terms on leaving the stuff maybe in storage in their truck for a day or two while you close on another home and lots of things like that. So there's a lot of positives to selling in the wintertime. A lot of people overlook them because of the fact that they're marketed to so heavily by every single company during the summertime. It's time to sell now. 10 reasons to buy in the spring, 10 reasons to sell in the spring, all the other stuff that you see. But the reality is being out there on the market by yourself has a lot of pros, especially in the modern day world where people are moving jobs all the time, people moving from coast to coast, from country to country, and they're moving whether you like it or not during the wintertime, during the summertime. We're no longer in a country or world where there's one religion or one whatever. There's everybody for everything. So certain holidays that used to stop traffic, they're not traffic stoppers anymore. There are people happy to move on days that used to be very standstill, just like what I had said about the blue laws and taking Sundays off and things. That world has changed dramatically, and I don't think we're going back in that direction. If anything, I think that we're going to see a leveling off and an evening out of sales throughout the entire year. I hope this podcast helps you get ready to sell your home this winter. If you're looking for a great agent, reach out to us over here at Momentum Realty. We can set you up with a great agent for the house that you're looking to sell, and they'll get it done for you for the best money and the best terms possible. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, PM me, DM me, give us a call, email us over here at the brokerage. Make sure to follow our podcast and tell your friends about it, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you so much and have a great week.